Imagine for a moment that life is not a straight line, but a spiral, a dance gently unfolding where nothing is wasted, not even silence. The longing you feel, the moments of doubt, the ache for connection. These are not interruptions to the journey, but movements in the music of being. We are not here to conquer love, nor to decode one another like puzzles. We are here to remember that we are not separate from the beauty we seek. The feminine mind, the masculine heart, these are not opposites, but reflections in a single mirror rippling through time. Every glance, every pause, every unspoken word is part of the choreography written by something far older than language. And when we stop trying to control the rhythm, we begin to feel it. For in the grand design, you were never meant to chase love. 1, presence is the purest seduction. Captivation doesn't begin with words or appearance. It begins in the stillness of presence. When a woman fully inhabits the moment, she becomes a mirror to life itself. Men are drawn to presence like a moth to flame, not because of what is said, but because of what is felt. 2, mystery isn't concealment. It's reverence. Mystery isn't playing games. It's the sacred art of not rushing revelation. Just as the moon never begs to be seen, a woman rooted in her mystery invites curiosity, not through withholding, but through the quiet power of unfolding. 3, speak to his spirit, not his ego. Words that captivate are not about praise, but about resonance. When you speak to a man's potential, when you reflect the truth of who he is becoming, you bypass performance and touch the soul. He listens, not to be impressed, but to be understood. 4, feminine energy is magnetic, not demanding. You need not chase what is already orbiting you. The feminine doesn't pull, she invites. She is the ocean that makes the shoreline yearn for touch. This energy doesn't seek to dominate, but to move like wind through trees. And in that movement, men find a kind of peace they didn't know they were seeking. And 5, stillness is not emptiness. It is power in a world obsessed with noise. A woman who knows how to sit in silence becomes a sanctuary. Silence is not the absence of voice. It is the invitation to depth. Men, consciously or not, are drawn to women who make space for reflection, not just reaction. 6, the true hack, be the mirror of his becoming at the core. Every man is seeking not just pleasure or passion, but meaning. When a woman sees him not as he is, but as he longs to be, she becomes the mirror through which he meets himself. This is not manipulation. It is remembrance. And it is the deepest form of captivation there is. Let's talk about something most people completely overlook when it comes to attraction: presence, not charm, not flirting, not some clever line you read on the internet. I'm talking about the energy you bring into a room when you're not performing, not overthinking, not chasing approval, just being. Presence is magnetic. And here's the thing most people don't get. It's not about being loud or bold or putting on a show. True presence is quiet. It's grounded. It doesn't announce itself, and yet somehow everyone feels it. When you are present, fully in your body, connected to the moment, there's a kind of unspoken power in that. You stop trying to convince people of your worth, and instead, you embody it. And that changes everything. Because let me tell you, men, real men, they feel that. They don't necessarily have the words for it, but they know when they're in the company of someone who isn't seeking something from them, but someone who's rooted in themselves. It's rare. And that's why it's captivating. We're living in a world of constant distraction. Everyone's scrolling, swiping, checking out, half listening, half feeling. So when you meet someone who is actually here, not stuck in yesterday, not jumping ahead to tomorrow, just here, it feels like a damn miracle. That's what real feminine energy does. It doesn't chase. It doesn't grip. It doesn't try to impress. It invites. Imagine this. You're having a conversation, and instead of thinking about what to say next or how you're coming across or if he likes you, you're just fully listening. You're open, curious, soft, but clear. You're allowing yourself to be seen without pushing for it. That kind of presence makes people slow down. It creates a pocket of space where something real can happen. Not surface level connection, but something deeper. And here's what most people don't realize. When a man feels your presence, it awakens his. You become the signal that reminds him to stop performing too. You give him permission to show up in his own depth instead of hiding behind a role or a mask. This isn't about playing small. This isn't about waiting. This is about knowing that who you are, or when you're not trying to fix or force or impress, is already profoundly powerful. You don't need to be aware of anything. You just need to be here, fully here. Because when you're present, you're not trying to be captivating. You are captivating. You are captivating. And you don't even have to try. You'll be surprised how many men are starving for this. For someone who makes them feel safe enough to stop performing. For someone who knows how to be with them. Not for validation, but for truth. Presence speaks louder than words. It tells someone, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not afraid to feel. I see you. I hear you. I'm here. And the wild thing is, you can't fake it. You can't package it or post it or swipe it into existence. You practice it. You embody it. And when you do, the right people feel it. They always do. You want to know the real hack to captivating a man? Let's talk about something that might seem counterintuitive at first. Mystery. Now, I'm not talking about playing hard to get or pretending to be someone you're not. That's just manipulation. And let's be real. No one's got time for that. What I'm talking about is something deeper, something far more powerful. Mystery as reverence. See, mystery isn't about hiding. It's about knowing when to reveal, when to withhold, and when to allow someone to experience your depth on their own terms. We live in a world where we're constantly telling everyone everything, what we think, what we feel, where we are, where we're going. But true mystery isn't about keeping secrets. It's about respecting the unfolding of a connection. Think of the moon. It doesn't beg to be seen. It doesn't shine harder or flash brighter to get attention. It simply is, and yet its pull is undeniable. It's the natural rhythm of existence that makes people stop, look, and marvel at it. That's what mystery does. It creates space for wonder, curiosity, and desire. And I get it. We've been taught that to connect, we need to spill our guts, share our entire life story, and let someone know exactly who we are within the first few minutes. But here's the thing. That kind of rush to reveal doesn't invite intimacy. It floods it. And when something floods too quickly, it drowns. When you allow someone to experience you over time, like a story unfolding, you build something real. When you leave room for a man to wonder, to figure out the layers of you at his own pace, you give him something that most people never give. The opportunity to discover you, not in a rush, but with intention and care. That's how you create captivation. Think about how you feel when you meet someone who doesn't immediately tell you everything. Someone who doesn't try to impress you with a resume or a perfect Instagram feed. Instead, they leave you with a question. What's next? You're drawn in, not by what you already know, but by what you don't know. That's the beauty of mystery. It leaves a space for curiosity to grow. But here's the trick. It's not about withholding things for the sake of control or manipulation. It's about trusting the journey. It's about letting someone see only as much as they need to, in the moments that matter. When you trust the timing of a connection and let it unfold organically, you create an atmosphere of anticipation. Men, especially, crave that. They want to feel like they're uncovering something special, not just receiving a map that tells them everything up front. But here's the deeper magic of this. When you're truly comfortable in your mystery, when you're not trying to impress, not trying to fill every moment with words or gestures, you create a space of respect. You're saying, I trust you to see me at your own pace when you're ready. And that creates a dynamic where the connection becomes something earned, not something rushed or forced. Now, don't mistake this for being distant or detached. Mystery is not about being unavailable or playing game. It's about choosing to let the relationship develop on its own terms, creating moments that are earned, not given freely and too soon. It's the difference between opening the door to someone and letting them take a journey into your world, rather than shoving them in and showing them everything at once. It's about giving them space to want more, without making it feel like you're holding back, just to play hard to get. It's creating a rhythm of connection, where each step is intentional, not rushed. And when you do this, when you allow mystery to simply be a part of your natural way of being, it becomes one of the most powerful forces in building connection. Men will be captivated, not by your perfection, but by your depth, your ability to invite them in without demanding they see everything right away. You see, in the end, mystery isn't a game. It's a gift. It's the art of knowing when to speak and when to let silence say what words never could. And when you master that, you'll captivate him in a way that no flashy gesture ever could. So remember this, you don't need to show all your cards. Let them be drawn one at a time. Let's get something straight. There's a big difference between feeding a man's ego and speaking to his soul. And if you really want to captivate a man, not just impress him, not just get his attention, but reach him, you have to understand where you're speaking from and what part of him you're speaking to. See, the ego loves to be flattered. It eats up compliments, praise, attention, all the surface level stuff, and for a moment, sure, it works. But here's the catch. When you speak to a man's ego, you're only connecting with the part of him that's trying to prove something. It's all performance. It's external. It's about being seen as someone, not being someone. But when you speak to his spirit, to his purpose, his potential, his quiet fears, his private dreams, you're talking to the man beneath the armor. And that's where real connection lives. That's where you touch something he might not even know he's been starving for. You ever notice how some conversations leave people energized while others feel like small talk you forget in 2 seconds? It's because the words we remember, the ones that stick, aren't just clever or funny. They're true. They come from someone who's grounded, who's present, and who isn't trying to win, but trying to connect. And that's your power. When you stop trying to inflate someone else's ego and start reflecting something real back to them, when you speak with curiosity instead of strategy, everything shifts. Ask him what lights him up and actually listen. Don't interrupt with your own story or pivot to something safer. Let silence hang a little longer than feels comfortable. Let the words breathe. You'll be amazed at how quickly someone drops the performance when they feel safe enough to do it. Yeah, the truth is, most men don't get asked about their dreams anymore. They don't often get seen beyond what they do, what they have, or what role they're supposed to play. So when a woman comes along who sees through all that, who sees his strength, yes, but also the weight he carries, the things he doesn't say, the edge he's standing on, she becomes unforgettable. She becomes unforgettable. This isn't about fixing him. It's not about helping him become his best self. It's about recognizing that even in his messiness, even in his uncertainty, there's something deeply worth knowing, because we all want to be known, not just noticed. Known. And sometimes the most captivating thing you can do is look a man in the eye and, without saying it directly, show him, I see who you're trying to be. I see the man you haven't even fully stepped into yet. And I respect the path you're walking. That kind of presence, that kind of awareness, it cuts through the noise. This is about creating space, not for ego, but for evolution, for growth, for truth. Because when a man feels safe to take off the mask, when he realizes you're not here to feed his image, but to invite his realness, he doesn't just feel attracted, he feels drawn. And not just to you, but to who he gets to become with you. So don't flatter him. Don't perform. Don't play to his pride. Speak to his future. Speak to the fire he's trying to name, because here's the truth. The fastest way to a man's heart isn't through admiration. It's through awakening. It's through awakening. Let's talk about energy. Not the kind you get from coffee or sleep, but the kind you bring into every interaction, every relationship, every room you walk into. There's this huge misconception out there that in order to get someone's attention, especially a man's, you have to chase, convince, prove, or perform. That the louder, flashier, more put together you are, the more you'll stand out. But here's the truth that flips all of that on its head. The most magnetic energy isn't the loudest. It's not demanding. It's inviting. The feminine at its core is not forceful. It doesn't push. It doesn't need to. It pulls. And not in a manipulative way, but in the same way the ocean pulls the tide. Quiet, natural, Unstoppable. You know that feeling when someone walks into a space and they're calm, grounded, completely at ease with themselves? They don't say much, but suddenly the whole energy in the room shifts. That's what feminine magnetism looks like. It's presence without pressure. It's power without needing to prove anything. When you're rooted in your own energy, when you're not chasing validation or hustling for someone's attention, you become a gravitational force. And that pull, that magnetism is what captivates. Because the truth is, most men aren't looking for someone who overwhelms their senses. They're drawn to someone who makes them feel home. When you try to control how a relationship unfolds, when you try to script every outcome or manage how you're perceived, you actually push energy away. Why? Because control is rooted in fear, and fear is repelling. But when you trust your own rhythm, when you sit back not passively but receptively, you create the kind of space where real connection happens. You stop performing and you start receiving. And this doesn't mean doing nothing. This doesn't mean waiting around or being distant. It means being so fully in alignment with who you are, with what you desire, with your own emotional reality that the right people naturally find their way to you. You don't need to micromanage their interest. You don't need to earn their affection. You allow it, you invite it, you receive it. Men, real men, are deeply responsive to this kind of energy. When you're calm in your center, when you're not grasping, when you're not performing, they feel it. And what they feel is space. Space to lead. Space to lean in. Space to be drawn to something they can't quite define, but can't look away from either. This is the difference between trying to be chosen and knowing you're the chooser. And the crazy thing is, the less you chase, the more you attract. Not because you're playing hard to get, but because your energy says, I'm already full. I'm already whole. Come closer if you want, but I'm not waiting to be completed. That kind of energy, it's rare and it's unforgettable. You want to know how to truly captivate a man? Don't run after him. Don't try to convince him. Be rooted, be still, be magnetic. Because when you stop chasing, you become the thing he's chasing. Let's talk about something that makes a lot of people uncomfortable. Stillness. Not silence that feels awkward, not checking out or holding back out of fear. I'm talking about intentional stillness. The kind that holds power without needing to shout. The kind that says, I'm not rushing. I'm not performing. I'm right here and I'm not afraid of the space in between. And here's the truth. In a world addicted to noise, movement, and constant stimulation, stillness is rare, and that makes it magnetic. We're constantly being told to do more, say more, be more. But the most captivating people aren't the ones who fill every silence. They're the ones who let the silence work for them. They let it breathe. They don't panic when things get quiet. They know that stillness is where depth lives. And that right there, that's where most people get it wrong in relationships, especially early on. There's this pressure to fill every moment, to keep things exciting, to avoid anything that feels even a little bit uncertain. But if you're always performing, always filling space, always chasing comfort, you leave no room for truth to surface. Stillness isn't emptiness. It's not absence. It's presence. It's listening deeply. It's pausing before reacting. It's knowing that what doesn't need to be said can sometimes speak the loudest. And here's what most people don't realize. Stillness invites someone to meet you at a deeper level. When you're grounded, when you're not rushing to explain yourself or fix the moment, you create emotional safety. You send a message without saying a word. I'm not afraid to sit in the unknown with you. That's powerful, especially for a man who spends most of his life expected to perform, fix, lead, and do. When he meets someone who can hold stillness, not awkwardly, not passive-aggressively, but with grace, something opens in him. He starts to slow down. He starts to feel. He starts to trust. Stillness is a signal that says, there's no rush here, no game, no pressure. And when that signal is real, not something you're faking, but something you embody, it captivates. Because it makes a man feel something most environments don't allow. Rest. Not boredom. Rest. Safety. Space to drop the arm. It knows how to laugh without losing depth. It knows how to bring color into a moment that's gone gray. This energy, it's magnetic. And for a man, especially a man who's used to carrying the weight of the world, it's healing. Because let's be real, life gets heavy. Expectations, pressure, responsibilities, they stack up. Most men are walking around with a quiet weight on their shoulders they rarely talk about. And when they meet someone who doesn't try to affix them, but who makes them feel alive again, someone who can laugh, who can flirt, who can spark something light without needing it to become serious in the next breath, they remember what it feels like to be free. That's what playfulness does. It's not surface level. It's sacred. It's a reminder that joy is allowed. That connection doesn't have to mean pressure, that you can be real and light. So when you smile at him with that mischievous look, when you say the unexpected thing that makes him laugh out loud, when you're unbothered by awkwardness or not getting it perfect, that's not trivial. That's medicine. And you want to know the real power behind it? It takes confidence to be playful. It means you're not afraid of being misunderstood. You're not shrinking to make someone comfortable. You're fully in your body, trusting the moment, not taking everything so seriously that you miss the beauty of what's right in front of you. Playfulness is presence. It's energy in motion. It's connection that doesn't need a reason. And no, this doesn't mean you're laughing through your pain or being the fun one to avoid real intimacy. It means you allow space for joy, even in the middle of real life. You can still be wise, intuitive, thoughtful, and dance through a conversation like you're painting in air. That kind of energy. It's unforgettable because it's rare. Most people are so caught up in what does this mean? And where is this going? And how do I keep his attention? That they forget how to play. They forget that sometimes the most attractive thing you can do is just be in the moment and enjoy it. That's what captivates. Not because you're trying to be anyone, but because you're reminding someone what it feels like to actually feel. Playfulness disarms the ego. It softens the moment. It makes people lean in, not because you're perfect, but because you're real. So flirt without agenda. Tease with kindness. Let your eyes smile when your lips do. Be the kind of woman who doesn't just turn heads, she lightens hearts. Because at the end of the day, what draws someone in and makes them stay isn't just how deep you can go. It's whether they feel alive in your presence. Playfulness isn't a distraction from connection. It's the doorway to it.